attorney.
Okay, welcome back. Let's continue. Load game. 5, 10, yeah, sure. Sunday. Boiler room. That's interesting. Okay.
とにかくこの部屋は警察が来るまでこのままにして施錠します。
Did I leave it there? That feels mid-sentence and I don't usually. I'll expose you, you'll see by tomorrow. No, forget tomorrow. Yeah, this I remember. I guess I just ended it one line too late, so or something, I don't know. Anyways, boiler room. What time is it? It's not saying what clock time it is. Yeah, it's just a real world time. Okay. At any rate, we'll lock this room and leave everything as it is until the police come. Yeah, sure.
いいですね。
Also, before we start, let me just quickly check. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone is red here. And you two have... Yeah. Damn, these two are very brutal. Like, we saw so little of you, yet you seem like very important, so I'm interested to... I just assume that eventually we'll go back and see other perspectives, so I'm very interested in seeing Kyrie's POV at some point. What if you are the murderer? Like, what if? What if it's not Beatrice? And what if it's just you doing murderous things? Oh, sorry. Tips also. Yeah, Inari and Kitsune, yeah. Yeah, nothing there. Natsuhi proclaimed it as though she didn't care whether they agreed or not. If anyone had a right to object, it would have been George, but he looked as though he had shed enough tears. Yeah. Poor George. Still facing away from them, George nodded slightly and rose to his feet. Everyone else agreed in response. Natsuhi still hadn't opened the head's Western-style envelope she had picked up. But since they would all be leaving the room now, she decided that she would unseal it in the parlor, where everyone could watch. As soon as they walked out into the hallway to head back to the parlor, yeah? Some of them immediately felt something out of place. Or maybe sensed something strange. Ooh. Don't jump scare me. Okay. I'm sorry, I was recently jump scared in Fata Morgana. Fuck that scene. If you know, you know. Yeah, what up, Maria? Yeah, I don't know why I suddenly thought that, what if, why did I suddenly think that Jessica would be, like, a secret killer? I have no idea. What if, like, most of them were initially, like, excluding Battler, what if most of them were initially, like, in on some kind of mass plot to kill most of the people here, but then something went wrong and they started attacking each other? That could be a fun idea, which we would obviously not be privy to yet. What?
マリアもわかるか?
Oh, was that her like a baby voice saying like a Kasai?
こりゃ何の匂いだよ。ひでえ匂いだぜ。
Or maybe some kind of dialect, I don't know. Yeah, it's probably the smell of the bodies, I assume. As they all sniffed the air, they did notice a horribly foul, burnt smell, unlike anything any of them had ever smelled before, drifting through the hallway. Oh, or maybe it is something different.
私、ちょっと厨房を見てきます。
Oh no, are we all together? Are we missing anyone?
火はちゃんと消したはずなんですよ。
I mean, except Kinzo, obviously. After noticing a burnt smell, it was natural that Kumasawa, who had just been cooking in the kitchen, suspected that her own clumsiness had caused it. Or maybe one of the bodies was moved to the kitchen. I don't know. Kumasawa hastily dashed away.
Kanon, Kumasawa to ikinasai. 一人にさせないように。
はい。
Nice. Very not calm. After nodding at Genji's order, Kanon went chasing after her. The others, although they did not run, also followed in order to search for the source of the smell. Yeah?
これは確かに鼻が曲がりそうな匂いですね。しかし換気のために窓を開けてもいいものか。
Natsuhi was reluctant to open the windows in a situation where self-defense was so important.
換気扇を回させましょう。窓を開ける必要はないと思います。
Okay.
ジョージの兄貴、話しかけても大丈夫かよ。犯人を探す相談なら構わないよ。
It seemed that George had already climbed out of the abyss of his sorrow. Well, I guess, maybe, yeah. Anger taking priority over the sorrow. All that filled his chest now was the quiet flame of hatred towards the killer who had stolen the lives of his beloved parents and his future wife.
部屋にはチェーンがかかってた。さっき構造を見たが、とても外から細工できる代物じゃねえ。つまり、完璧な密室だったってことだ。
Another locked room mystery. This game.
そうなるね。
George is just so done with the world.
バラ庭園の倉庫の時は、シャッターの鍵を使用人室からこっそりと持ち出したのだろうとか、あるいは複製の鍵を持っていた可能性とか、いくつか方法が想像できた。でもチェーンは違う。チェーンは一般に浸透した施錠方法の中で最もシンプルに密室を構築できる。
Yeah.
チェーンだけは物理的に破壊しない限り外からはどうにもならないぜ。
I mean, it depends. There are ways to get past certain chains, and just requires some deftness of fingers and I don't know, some mini tools like a rubber band and some kind of pulley system and yeah.
じゃあつまり犯人は扉からは出入りしなかったってことなのか。
こりゃ面白いや。つい数時間ほど前にも扉以外でどうやって部屋から出入りしたのかってみんなで騒いだ気がするぜ。
Yeah. Back then, everyone had been making a fuss over how grandfather had disappeared from his room. Because of the receipt that Auntie Ava had stuck in the door on a whim, it was revealed that the door had remained sealed. And since Aunt Natsuhi had been the only person to enter or exit during that time, she had come under suspicion. Auntie Ava had proposed a theory about how Aunt Natsuhi might have thrown grandfather out of the window and left by the door herself. But this door is much simpler. It was sealed from the inside by the door chain. The window had also been closed from the inside, and the bodies had been in the room. This time it really was, without exaggeration, a true locked room. That's right. If you include grandfather's disappearance, 3 incidents have occurred, and all 3 times the door has been the point of interest. The question is if focusing on that is the red herring, or if that is actually important piece of solving the puzzle. Like, what other similarities are there between the cases? Like, not the murders themselves necessarily, but in case 1, the shutter one, there was a magic crest, and with case number 3 with Ava and Hideyoshi, there was also a magic crest, but in Kinzo's case there was not. So, but then again, Kinzo is not confirmed dead yet, so. The first was the shutter. There was a key in the servant room, and if we assume someone knew about that, this can't really be called a locked room. Why did it hold so long on that image? Maybe there was some clue there that I should have seen. I don't know. The next was the door sealed by the receipt. However, since Aunt Natsuhi had entered the room, she could have let grandfather out through the window or thrown him out, and she would have been able to lock the window before leaving. Or, like my crazy theory, he could have hidden until the receipt was gone and left the room later. Basically, the door can be defeated with a handful of desperate tricks. In that sense, you really can't call this one a locked room either. And now we have the door sealed with the door chain. Finally, we have to give up. The window, the door, everything had been locked from the inside. It was a perfect locked room. The first hadn't been a locked room because everyone could be suspected. The second hadn't been a locked room because Aunt Natsuhi could be suspected. But this time, no one can be suspected. This room was a perfect locked room, sealed by a door chain that denied access equally to everyone.
なら、犯人は室内に入らずに犯行に及んだ。
Doubt, but maybe.
部屋の外から何らかの方法で。
確かに。チェーンである以上、人が通れるほどは開けなくても、多少の隙間を開けることができる。ノックして顔を覗かせたところを襲うとか。
I doubt that's what happened, but sure, whatever.
いや、甘いか。
Yeah, very much.
甘いよな。
Considering it would have needed to be both of them, and each of them had to come one by one, and also Hideyoshi was, well, they were far from the door first of all, but Hideyoshi was inside the shower.
エヴァおばさんの遺体が扉のすぐそばだったなら、それも考えたぜ。だが、エヴァおばさんは部屋の奥のベッドの上。 しかも、秀吉おじさんはバスルームだった。チェーンの隙間からでは、姿を見ることもできねえし、手を伸ばすこともできねえ。
Yeah.
ちくしょう。全然ダメだぜ。さっぱりだ。
I feel your frustration. Something was tugging softly at my sleeve. Maria? It was Maria.
Oh.
Yeah? You got an idea beyond just magic?
満足って、何がだよ。
So spooky. There we go.
バトラは親族の誰かを疑うのが嫌だから、犯人はベアトリーチェであってほしいと願ったよ。だからベアトリーチェは叶えた。
Oh, damn it, I didn't mean to press that twice. Weird.
バトラが言った通り、絶対に人間には無理なことをして、バトラに魔女の存在を信じさせてくれた。なのにわがまま。
What the hell, Battler? I mean, deserved also, but yeah. I tapped Maria, who was laughing unpleasantly, on the head with my fist. Tapped? That felt more like a smack.
ああ、叶えてくれてありがとうよ。今のはその礼と、不謹慎な時に笑ったことへの教育的指導だ。それより教えやがれ。エヴァおばさんたちの部屋の扉にも、また怪しげな落書きがされていた。
This is true. Do you have any inside info on what the runes meant?
あれもまた魔法陣なのか。
Oh, not budging out of this mode.
あれは特に覚えやすい特徴的な形なんだから、あのくらい知っててほしいね。
Really? Sorry, he's not really into black magic. Get wrecked.
知らねえから花を持たせてやってんだ。ごちゃごちゃ言わねえで解説しろい。
バトラは暴力的だね。
Yeah, taking it well.
あんまり意地悪すると教えないよ。
Okay, Battler.
言うよ、このげんこつ男。あれは月の1の魔法陣だよ。
First magic circle of the moon.
何の意味がある？その魔法陣のご利益は？書かれてるヘブライ語の意味は？
記されているのは旧約聖書詩編第107編の16節。
Understandable. Please tell me what it means.
主は聖堂の扉を破り、鉄の缶抜きを打ち破ってくださいました。魔法陣の効用は2つ。一つはいかなる方法によって閉ざされた扉でも開くことができる。
I see. Well, that immediately solves the problem of the chain lock.
そりゃ便利な魔法だぜ。つまり魔法の力に頼らなきゃ開けぬ密室の扉っていう魔女様のアピールってわけか。もう一つの効用は、
開かぬ扉を八方塞がりの事態に見立て扉を開く。
What? It takes the unopening door as a representation of an unassailable situation and opens it. Okay, whatever that means. I mean, yeah, I know what the words themselves mean, obviously, but... Sure.
難解な事態の時に用いることで、それまで思いつきもしなかった解決策を与えてくれるんだよ。平たく言うと、観察力や洞察力、ひらめきや直感を授けてくれるんだね。
Okay, sure. That makes it cool. A cool idea.
ベアトリーチェはバトラごとき人間風情にこの扉の開き方がわかるものかって挑発してるんだよ。
よーし、もう黙れご苦労。上等だぜ。その魔女の挑戦受けてやら。
マリアちゃん、この世に魔女も悪魔も存在しない。父さんと母さんは誰かが殺した。それが僕のよく知る人間なのか知らない人間なのかはわからない。でもそのどちらであっても必ず人間なんだ。
しかしどうやって、せいぜい10センチ程度しか開かない扉の隙間からどうやったら室内の2人を。
それにしても耐え難い匂いです。
Yeah, Kanon and Kumasawa have been gone for a while now.
一体何事なのですか？
I mean, I immediately suspected a bad thing being a corpse being boiled alive or grilled alive or something. I don't know. Or grilled dead? Whatever. Kanon and Kumasawa, who had gone ahead, realized before they even reached the kitchen that the smell wasn't coming from there. Ah, okay. That was because on their way to the kitchen, they noticed that an even thicker wave of stench was rising up from the stairs leading to the basement. Of course there's a basement.
Boiler室。
That's why this chapter is called Boiler Room.
またボイラーの調子が悪いんでしょうか。
We haven't heard anything from or seen anything from Nanjo for a while, so. But I would assume he's with the first group in the parlor. Those stairs led to the underground boiler room. The mansion's boiler was old and had been playing up recently. Both of them had witnessed problems with the boiler on several occasions, but they had never smelled it belching out a stench like this before. Slam. I gently opened the door. No?
今の音は。
Oh. Closed my heart. Okay. Are you guys inside the boiler room or... No, because this background obviously isn't boiler room. The sound that they had heard from the basement had definitely been the sound of a door closing. Secret doors. Although she... Okay, music picking up. Although she did phrase it as a question, Kumasawa had already realized that the sound couldn't have been anything else. Kumasawa was so surprised at that sound that her knees gave away yet again, and she cowered. Because at that very moment, no one could have been in the boiler room. Kinzo. Just a few seconds ago, everyone had been crowded together in Eva and Hideyoshi's room. So who caused the sound of a door closing just now? Yeah, Kinzo is missing. There is supposed Beatrice, but Beatrice doesn't, I guess, have a body, so I don't know how much she can interact with physical things. And obviously there's always the very, very logical option of dead bodies just walking around, you know? Maybe they're not dead.
Kanon-san!
Despite Nanjo pronouncing everyone dead. But what's going on here? Instantly gathering the situation, Kanon ran down towards the basement. Since they had heard the sound of a door closing just now, and there was no trace of someone climbing the stairs, it meant that the person who had closed the door was now inside the boiler room. If the boiler room had been a dead end, Kanon wouldn't have rushed in so hastily. But Kanon was his servant, so he knew. There were 2 entrances, one that opened to the mansion and one that opened to the courtyard. If he didn't chase them now, they might slip away. Kumasawa reached the same conclusion long after Kanon did. But she couldn't let him go alone. If the thing in the boiler room was the killer, an opponent who had easily killed 6 adults in the first murder, then Kanon would be no match if he simply confronted them alone. We are assuming that it is the same killer between the 2 cases. I mean, obviously, both cases have involved magical runes, so yeah. But you know, it could always be different murderers. If we assume it's not Beatrice. Of course, by this argument, Kumasawa joining him alone wouldn't mean anything, but I mean, it's still better than going on your own. At any rate, after a delay, Kumasawa decided that she mustn't let Kanon go alone, and she dashed down the stairs. The rumbling of the boiler's fire extinguisher. At that time, Kanon was already in the boiler room. The boiler room's characteristic damp heat tormented him. It had always been an unpleasantly smelly and hot place. And on top of that, the room was full of that horrible stench, which made Kanon feel like he was going to be sick. There was no doubt that this room was the origin. In that case, Kanon should have been searching for where the smell was coming from. Also, let me just add one more idea, like to the who could have done it, beyond just corpses not actually being dead, despite Nanjo pronouncing them dead. Another idea is obviously that everyone thinks that everyone alive is currently together, but what if there's a body double or something to that vein going on, and let's say, for example, Jessica isn't actually there despite seemingly being there. There's always that possibility. These ideas are, of course, way out of the reasonably solvable means with just human deduction, because they require some either just pure magic or some trickery that we have no knowledge about. In that case, Kanon should have been searching for where the smell was coming from. However, Kanon kept gazing straight forward as he grabbed a hatchet from a tool shelf just off to the side of the door. Good idea. He hadn't stretched out his hand because he'd wanted a hatchet. He had wanted to grab a weapon. Any weapon. Why? I don't know, it made sense to me. Possible killer, self-defense, or... Did you surprise yourself too with that action? Kanon gazed into the darkness where the naked light bulb couldn't pierce. Then he answered.
ルーレットは数字と赤黒にかけて配当を競い合う。
Okay.
だが赤か黒かのようなリスクの低い賭けはその程度の配当しか与えられない。
Sure. The words coming from Kanon's mouth were swallowed up by the darkness. That darkness suddenly started to swirl, glittering. Yeah? Hello? Butterflies? Is this an actual introduction scene to Beatrice? It was a very fantastical scene. golden sparkling butterflies that hid in the shadows all over the boiler room flapped their wings, twinkling beautifully, and disappeared into the darkness, gathering together. Kanon continued speaking, directing his words at the darkness as it swallowed the butterflies up. But as the butterflies gathered in the darkness, they probably, no, they must have laughed. But Kanon continued to speak without faltering in the slightest.
逆に、より的中率の低いかけ方をすれば、そのリスクに比例した配当が与えられる。
Okay.
親方様は、天文学的なリスクを的中できることを奇跡と呼び、その結果得られる天文学的な配当を魔法と呼んでいた。
Okay, sure. We can go with that logic, and there actually not ever being any magic, despite these glowing butterflies being here. Sure. That works for me.
親方様とお前がどんな魔法を求めてルーレットに挑んでいるのか。そんなことしかしルーレットには赤でも黒でもない目が出うることを忘れている。
Can I? Soon enough. Yeah, sorry, I skipped kinda his lines.
親方様とお前がどんな魔法を求めてルーレットに挑んでいるのか。そんなことには興味ない。しかし、お前は忘れている。ルーレットには赤でも黒でもない目が出うることを忘れ。
Fuck. Still continued. Whatever. Close enough. Roulette has a special pocket called Zero, which means that the house takes everything in certain variants of the game. Meaning that all of the coins bet on the table will be swept up, just as though everyone has forfeit.
僕は一つだけ心に決めていた。
Yeah?
もしシャノンが殺されて僕が生き残るようなことがあったなら、この身を投げ出してお前のルーレットを全て台無しにしてやろうと。
Damn. Sure, okay.
これは親方様が決めたルールでも、ましてやお前が決めたルールでもない。このルールは僕が作った。
Okay, Kanon, okay.
僕はもう家具じゃない。
Sure, okay. Go for it. You go.
お前のルーレットのゼロなんだ。
Okay, that's a really cold line. That's a cold line. Kanon's face twisted with humiliation. It was clear that he had been dealt ridicule in response to his self-denial. Kanon's brow creased even further, and a furious expression that he had never shown anyone appeared on his face. The hand grasping the hatchet was shaking. His sweat became drops which slid down. It was clear that the emotion causing Kanon's hand to shake was not anger alone. However, Kanon suppressed that emotion.
僕はもうお前の言葉に惑わされたりはしない。悪魔のルーレットはこれでおしまいだ。
I feel like this is not gonna go well for you. It's too early. I mean, then again, it might be. We might be nearing the end of episode 1, but yeah.
地獄にてさらに1000年。次の召喚者を待つがいい。ベアドリーチェ！
Hell yeah, that's a declaration. When Kanon swung the hatchet upwards and tried to dive into the darkness definitely sneered. Oh my god. It sneered at the courage as vulgar, lazy, futile, and meaningless. At that courage. Yeah. such an uneasy... It sounds almost like backwards going. Ooh. What a creepy laugh. Oh no, I have a bad feeling. Nervous laughter. Kanon, his hatchet still held aloft, couldn't take another step after that. Oh. With a clang, the hatchet that Kanon had been grasping fell and rolled onto the floor. And following that, with a pair of thuds, Kanon's knees hit left, then right. That hand, which looked like it was trying to catch the sky now that the hatchet had been dropped, gradually lowered and rested on his chest. Ooh. Then the other hand did the same. Yeah, I had a feeling. Right there was a handle with a demon-shaped design engraved upon it. Ooh. The same type of weapon that had been stabbed into Eva and Hideyoshi's foreheads was in Kanon's chest. I swear if it was Kumasawa actually and not Beatrice. Fresh blood dribbled from the corner of Kanon's mouth as it twisted in anguish. It was makeup too powerful for Kanon's white skin. Damn, we're not even gonna see Beatrice. Around this scene, the glittering gold butterflies danced mesmerizingly through the darkness. It was a beautiful, beautiful dance. A funeral march of tribute, ridicule, and contempt for a single boy's self-sacrifice. Kanon had already prepared for his own death, but he attempted one last measure of resistance to reject death in at least the form it had been delivered to him. Yeah? With both hands, he grasped the handle of the weapon, sticking into his chest, and gritting his teeth at the acute, unearthly pain. He pulled it out. Wow, that requires some insane determination and grit and perseverance, because that's insanely hard to do. Not only does your own strength usually give out, but it's also mentally very scary, and you know that if you pull a weapon out, the blood loss will just increase, thus making you come that much closer to death faster, and and it's also fucking scary. He pulled it out. For only a moment, a bright red spray gushed out. It made an unpleasant bloop sound. It probably resembled the sound of Kanon's soul as it was sucked into the swamp of the dead.
Kanon-san?
Kumasawa screamed at the incomprehensible sight in front of her. Kanon was lying in a pool of blood. Kumasawa's heart was a complete mess. Ah, what a terrible fate. He wouldn't have been killed if I had been with him. I mean, yeah, it's obviously horrendous that he's gonna die here, but at least he decided to defy his fate and stop being a furniture out of his own accord. Even if it turned out this way for him. Ah, what incredible fortune, eh, yo? I mean, yeah, sure, okay. That is kinda human, yeah. If I had been with him, I might have been killed too! As she screamed, her expression was filled with complete confusion, and all of the muscles of her face were pulled up, almost as though she was smiling while crying. Yeah, sure, okay. That makes sense, kinda, yeah, I can understand it. I can definitely understand it. No one could have made fun of an expression such as this. Is she gonna get blamed though? The first one to dash in was Natsuhi, with rifle at the ready. Battler and Genji dashed in after her. Normally, they probably would have started discussing the origin of that violent stench filling the boiler room. But after they saw Kanon, who was lying on the ground as if he were drowning in an ocean of his own blood, the stench wasn't important anymore. Natsuhi realized that even though Kanon was on the verge of death, he was still conscious, so she sent Genji to get the doctor. Natsuhi, holding the rifle aloft, faced the darkness in the center of the boiler room and shouted. Do we actually get Beatrice reveal her? Will she just laugh from the darkness? Battler, thinking quickly, took a large flashlight from the tool shelf alongside the door and used its light to cut through the darkness Natsuhi was glaring into. But the light only shone on mechanical-looking piping and a door. The door had been left open. The door had been left open a small crack, and it was obvious that someone had left through there in a hurry.
Natsuhi-oba-san, あの扉はどこへ?
Genji, あの扉はどこに通じているのですか?
中庭です。
逃がすかよ、くそこの野郎!
Great yell. Will you dash after her? Battler let out a war cry as he slammed into the door. Damn. Cool air from outside suddenly rushed in. There were some thin, rough stairs leading up. Battler ran up them, shouting. Natsuhi also rushed up the stairs, chasing after Battler. I feel like Battler is gonna be fine, despite being alone, not just because he's the main character, but because Beatrice is, I feel like Beatrice is trying to teach him a lesson, like I told you so. Make him believe. At the top was the courtyard. The courtyard of the mansion had been built strictly for lighting purposes, so it wasn't a very elegant place. Because it was surrounded on all sides, the air was calm, and completely undisturbed, even though they could hear the sound of strong winds. Ah, sure. Yeah, winds going around. There was only the gentle, sorrowful rain. Through the cold, scattered raindrops, Battler dashed up the stairs and into the courtyard, where he looked in every direction. Of course, the odds of him finding a suspicious silhouette just standing around nonchalantly were pretty much zero. Battler turned around, looking in all directions. He turned again and again. He kept spinning until he almost lost his sense of direction. Damn. He prayed that he would see the culprit somewhere in the scenery, but there was no chance. all he saw as he spun was more and more of the mansion's heartless walls and windows. Damn. That's so cruel, so close yet so far away. Furthermore, there were 2 entrances in the mansion from the courtyard, and neither of them were locked. Because the courtyard couldn't be entered from outside the mansion, the doors had been built without locks. He couldn't tell which one they had left through. He had to give up. Battler pounded the wall with his fist, swearing, yeah. That, you're completely correct, but let him lament. Yeah, lots of dots afterwards. Oh. Battler put his head against the wall and scratched at it with his fingernails as he cried. I feel you, man.
さらにカノン君かよ。6人も殺しやがった。飽き足らずさらに3人も殺しやがった。ふざけるな、ふざけるな。
Amazing voice acting from him.
エヴァおばさんも秀吉おじさんも昔からいつも優しくしてくれる愉快なおばさんたちだったじゃねえかよ。カノン君とは昨日会ったばかりだが、きっとこれから仲良くなれたと思うぜ。
Yeah.
なんで殺したんだ。どうして。
Oh, I love the guttural sound he can bring out.
人ってのはな、殺しちまったらな、二度と生き返らねえんだぞ。タケノコみてえにひょいひょい生えてきちゃ来ねえんだぞ。どうして殺すんだよ。どうして。
Battler was a boy who could understand the feelings of pain and regret in a person's heart. So he cried with all his strength. Natsuhi, who had always thought of Battler as a strong person, was a little surprised to find that he had this delicate side. And at the same time, he understood how easily the heart of a young person could be, though she held him. Damn. Yeah, what else can you say?
あなたもジョージ君もマリアちゃんもジェシカも私が絶対に守ります。母として、そして後ろ宮家の代表として。
Man, why is Natsuhi just a goat? Battler, after sobbing into Natsuhi's chest for a while, wiped his tears with a bitter smile and tried to convey that he had cried more than enough already, just as he had done the times before.
とにかく一度下に戻りましょう。犯人を探すより自分たちの身を守る方が最優先です。
I mean, yeah, obviously. Your own life always comes before anything else, but, you know.
明日になれば船が来る。そうすれば警察がやってきて、全てを白日の下にさらし出してくれるでしょう。
Will they? Will they though?
犯人がどうあがこうとも、この島から逃げられるものですか。
そうっすね。警察さえ来れば。
When the seagulls cry, the crime will be solved. But for some reason, Battler felt a slight sense of uneasiness, as if the seagulls would never cry again. That couldn't be true. When the typhoon passes, the lively seagulls should return to the harbor again. I returned to the boiler room along with Aunt Natsuhi and told the room weakly that we hadn't found anything. They told me that Dr. Nanjo and George Aniki had carried Kanon-kun to the servant room. The servant room had a first aid kit and a sink and could apparently function as a nurse's office. Kumasawa-san and Jessica had accompanied them. Stains from Kanon-kun's blood remained on the floor. Judging by the large amounts of blood lost and the ruthless shape of the weapon that had fallen unceremoniously to the ground, I figured that Dr. Nanjo's treatment would probably end in vain. That weapon was doubtlessly the same type that had been stuck in Auntie Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi's foreheads. But wait, isn't the demonic design on the handle a little different, is it? I mean, I haven't seen it yet, so... There seem to be some small differences in that part. Still, as far as their overall shape was concerned, the weapons were all of the same type. But note that there's a different meaning to this and the previous killing thing, sure. Though it had seemed brutal, we'd left the weapon stuck in Auntie Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi to preserve the crime scene. So this was the first time I was able to have a perfect view of the entire weapon. Indeed, the weapon was not a bladed like a knife, but shaped like an ice pick. Or rather, a thin stake. Appropriate. Stakes, witches. And also, it had a spiral-shaped design, sort of like a drill. To use a disturbing analogy, it looked like something that might be driven into the hearts of human sacrifices in some demonic ritual. There's also, that didn't come to my mind instantly, but sure. Including the handle, it was about 25 centimeters long. Half of that was the stake-shaped part, which was stained with deep red blood. The length of the blood-stained part made it clear just how deeply it must have penetrated into Kanon-kun's chest. Maria is not happy-looking. Okay, but Aunt Natsuhi and the rest were not even looking at the weapon. Instead, standing in front of the incinerator, where the horrible stench was emanating from. I'm quickly gonna just check this, if there's an update on Kanon. Not yet. Yeah. Wait, what was the, Hien-shin just... Right, okay. They had probably pulled that out of the furnace, where it must have been burning. It was still smoldering and kept sending out dense waves of that awfully unpleasant smell. I mean, they say that, so it implies like a singular thing, but I was thinking that maybe it could have been the missing pieces of the faces of the first 6. Genji-san and Maria were staring down at it. Aunt Natsuhi probably couldn't stand to look directly at it. She kept shaking her head, her back to it. I'd thought that after everything that's happened, nothing could surprise me anymore, but this was... I stood there for a while, moaning, with a rising urge to vomit. The true nature of the unearthly stench was the charred smell from within the incinerator. Of a burning corpse. Kinzo, maybe. The clothes, the surface of the body, and the hair were all hideously burned. That grotesque corpse was in a state where not the face, nor the age, nor even the gender could be guessed at. But when I thought about it calmly, I realized that a corpse appearing at this time could only be one person, Kinzo. Grandfather, who had disappeared that morning, and whose whereabouts had been unknown.
おそらく親方様だと思います。
Yeah. Either that or it's a fake out by him, planned by him, and it's actually because it's unidentifiable. You guys just assume it's him because he's the only one missing, when in fact he's faking his own death. But, you know, that's just a theory, a game theory.
私も同感です。このようなお姿でお亡くなりになるとは。おいたわしや。
でもこの死体本当にじい様だって保証はあるんすか？こうも黒焦げじゃ性別さえも想像つかないってのに。
バトラ君、足をご覧なさい。
Aunt Natsuhi, with her handkerchief over her mouth and her eyes averted, pointed and told me to look at the burnt corpse's feet. I'm gonna refrain from the joke.
両足の指です。よくご覧になってください。
本当だ。
Just as Genji-san had said, there were 6 toes on each foot. Ha! Each of the toes had been arranged so normally that I hadn't noticed.
親方様はお生まれの時から両足の指に特徴がございました。
Huh. 6 and 6, and where's the third pair of 36 of something? 666, the number of the beast. Yeah. Okay, well that's very hard to replicate, but obviously, and we are led to assume that this is undeniable proof that it is Kinzo. But you know, the game can always later pull out. Nope, he had a specialist help him design a fake body.
そして、故に親方様は後ろ宮家の再興を託されたのです。
後宮家には昔から生まれつき多子症の方が多かったそうです。多分遺伝的なものでしょう。
Polydactyly literally means many fingers. Because of a little mistake by God when the person is born, one of their toes or fingers splits into 2 and the total number increases. But the big deal isn't usually made out of polydactyly in the world at large. That's because it isn't a disease, but something people are born with. So the hospital is already aware of it when they are still babies. And at about the time they turn 1 year old, they are given surgery to make them normal. So even if a child has polydactyly, it is treated before they become self-aware, so they might not even remember it themselves. Incidentally, it seems that it can occur with a probability of about 1 in every 2,000 babies. So even though it's not usually seen, it isn't that rare at all. Speaking of which, I think Uncle Hideyoshi mentioned something to me long ago. something about how even Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the man who, unified Japan at the end of the Sengoku period, has 6 fingers on one hand. I don't think I've heard that before. According to Aunt Natsuhi, among the many Ushiromiya family heads, the ones praised most for their wisdom had all possessed polydactyly. Because of that, when grandfather was born, his relatives were all excited at the thought that he might become another wise leader. And when the leading relatives all died in the Great Kanto earthquake, it was apparently argued that if anyone could restore the family from that, it would be grandfather because of the auspicious sign of his birth. If grandfather thought being the head was not a bad gig, the 6th toe must have been pretty lucky for him. Come to think of it, I think I've heard about some country where it's believed that people with polydactyly should be treated as gods and revered. I don't think I've heard that myself. This is beside the point, but it's fairly common in mystery novels for a corpse to be burned to hide whose body it is. Yeah? But it looks like in grandfather's case, just being toasted wasn't enough to hide the proof of his identity. And grandfather's body was not simply burned. Just like Auntie Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi, and Kanon too, who had been stabbed in his chest. He had one of those demon's ice picks stuck into his forehead.
指に当主の指輪がありません。
It's on Beatrice.
昨夜の手紙の通りということですか。お父様、さぞやご無念でしょう。
Aunt Natsuhi let her head droop and closed her eyes tightly. This room had also become a vital crime scene for us to hand over to the police. It was decided that we would leave grandfather's corpse here and lock the room, sealing it. It wasn't clear when grandfather's corpse started burning in the incinerator, since, according to Genji-san, the flames hadn't been that strong. The body must have started burning a long time ago. And that stench must have slowly crept out of the furnace and filled the room bit by bit, eventually pouring out and climbing up the staircase. Putting aside whether he was rare or well done, okay, sure game, grandfather had been brought out, killed, and burned, even though he had started out in the locked room created by his auto lock. There's probably no doubting this. However, according to Genji-san, the boiler room is usually locked, but we already know of a spell that can forego that locking. The probability that someone outside our group was lurking around, committing the crimes, was now overwhelmingly high. And there was also a good chance that this person was walking around with something like a master key. After all, the doors and windows throughout the mansion had been checked. But despite that, the culprit was freely strutting around the mansion. Mind. After this latest crime, can we now be sure that a 19th person exists? They haven't shown themselves once, and yet they're trying to tout their existence. This is true? Along with Kirie-san's chessboard theory, I've been using this contradiction to deny the existence of a 19th person. No, I feel like it's kinda on purpose. Like Beatrice is purposefully not. I mean, it was kinda said that you can't even see her even if you wanted, but I still feel like Beatrice is not showing herself on purpose to prove a point, to make you a believer in magic. By flipping over the chessboard once more, the very fact that this crime makes it perfectly obvious that a 19th person exists means that the existence of the 19th person is even less possible. Well, yeah. Unless that's what they want to make you think, knowing that you have this chessboard flipping analogy in use. As long as that 19th person doesn't show themselves in front of us. If the culprit could get grandfather out through the door, sealed by the receipt. If they could kill Auntie Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi from the other side of the door, of a door sealed by a chain, then is it possible for them to even create a fictional 19th person through strange tricks and devices? Sure. If we still want to believe that the culprit is among us, then the list of suspects is very short. The four of us kids, Aunt Natsuhi, Genji-san, Umasawa-bachan, and Dr. Nanjo. And, well, okay, so like, you didn't include Kanon there, but Kanon is still alive. Very barely, right? Because he was carried there, and right? If I understood that correctly, Kanon is still not technically dead. So it would require some insane mentality. But what if Kanon was the culprit, and just to hide the killer's identity, Kanon stabbed himself in the chest, and we just had unreliable narrator there. That would be a perfect way to cover it up, almost killing yourself, to fake out the 19th person, and also seemingly make yourself not look like a possible candidate to be the culprit anymore. I think I can wipe with that idea, even though it's way out there, obviously, because we already heard Kanon's own declarations, and there was no one else there, so why would he say those things out loud? Unless, you know, he's actually insane inside of his mind, and that's just the way it is. He believes both ways. I don't know. To fool your enemy means to fool yourself or something, I don't know. One of these people has to be the culprit. Wait, we can't be sure of that. Just a second ago, we started doubting whether the body here was actually grandfather's, right? Maybe we should try thinking of other bodies in the same way. Yeah? For example, the first 6 all had their faces horribly destroyed. Yeah? Good idea. Good thinking. Some of the bodies had kept enough of their faces for us to confirm who they were. But my old bastard, for example, had lost his entire face, as though it had been peeled off. We'd only figured out which body was which by their clothes and surroundings. I feel like earlier on, this reasoning was not mentioned like intentionally, and it was left kinda open when the first murders happened, so that people could theorize and come up with this idea. And now later on, the game is like, nope, haha, you guys were wrong, and we are just explaining that nope, we already took that into account, so it's probably not what's going on. But sure, yeah, I do like this idea too. But again, since it is episode 1 and it's one of the explanations or things we are thinking about right now, it's probably not the correct one. But you never know, you never know. Had the culprit prepared a fake corpse beforehand and disguised it to make it look like their date died, then hid somewhere and continued their killing spree? It sounds ridiculous, but that doesn't mean it's an impossible trick. It's too early to give in to this 19th person. No, this witch.
マリアちゃん、それ以上しげしげと見てはなりません。さあ、バトラ君も。カノンの容体も気になりますし、いつまでもこのようなところにはいられません。
Yeah, Kanon is still alive.
戻りましょう。
Let us go back. Not amused this time. Maria hadn't gone out with everyone else, but had remained in the boiler room. The things she was staring fixedly at was probably not grandfather's body, but the demon's ice pick that was sticking out of his forehead. No doubt, an irresistible item for the obsessed. Okay, wow. I wrapped her on the head.
おい、マリア。ベアトリーチェの目的は何なんだ？俺たち全員の命か？
Witching cold Shambalo.
ベアトリーチェはもうすぐ蘇るんだよ。その時、誰も生き残れはしない。
And then at the end, everyone will be revived.
よくも笑えるもんだぜ。自分だけ蚊帳の外だと思ってるのか？どうして自分の身に危機が迫っていると感じない？どうして怯えない？
ベアトリーチェは約束してくれたもん。私は黄金鏡へ連れて行ってもらえるんだよ。そこはね、しがらみも何もないすべての人たちがずっと一緒にいつまでも優しくし合っていける素敵な場所なんだよ。私は楽しみだよ。その時はもうすぐだもん。
Damn. Okay. Just what kind of person is Maria? I only know what Maria was like 6 years ago, when she was 3. She had been pure and obedient, a good kid. This new Maria, 6 years later, and the Maria I knew, didn't seem to fit together. Just who is she? This witch who calls herself Maria? To her, with her obstinate belief in witches, this series of unsolvable crimes is proof that witches actually exist. Every time something occurs that would be difficult for a human, it becomes a little harder for the rest of us to not believe in that witch called Beatrice. Beatrice. It must be an intense pleasure for Maria to see her relatives, who once firmly denied the witch's existence, start acknowledging her existence one by one. Is that why she's in high spirits?
マリア、もう一遍だけ聞く。どうせ答えは同じだろうが、もう一遍だけ聞く。お前は昨日、バラ庭園で手紙をもらった。そいつは誰なんだ？
だ から、ベアトリーチェ。バトラがまだ信じない。こう。
Maria only repeated what she had already said. Yeah. Maria had met with the 19th person, the witch. Had that really been a 19th person? Or had that been one of the 18 who told her to say otherwise? All that's certain is that Maria has been with the rest of us constantly, has always had an alibi, and hasn't done anything that would put her under suspicion. She's simply overjoyed at being made Beatrice's messenger, and certainly is not our 19th person. I think, yeah, that's a good way to put, to describe this game. Throw the theory and then ... I think. That's right. I wonder what's written in the letter we picked up in Auntie Ava's and Uncle Hideyoshi's room. Aunt Natsuhi should still have it with her. Chapter end. Still going. Episode 1 still going. Oh, wow. Only half an hour. Wow. Okay. In the end, Kanon did not regain consciousness. Yeah, I think we'll be ending it here. It's a bit shorter of a part than usual, but there was a lot going on here. Yeah. I'm in a bit of a time crunch as well. I'll try and do a longer part next time. Damn. The Kanon scene, it started out pretty sudden, but the more it went on, the more I got into it, and the very end of it was really good, and the battler crying out scene just made it all that much better. A really memorable scene. I'm really not sold on the whole Kinzo being dead scene, but we'll see what comes of that. Yeah, let me check this here. Do we have anything on Kanon right? Oh, Kanon is red. Yikes. With a weapon resembling an ice pick having been rammed into his chest, he was found in the boiler room. How presumptuous for furniture. Okay, Beatrice, calm down, Beatrice. Calm down. Yeah. Anyone else? Don't think so. Okay, right, Kinzo. Holy shit. Yeah, sure. Shirome Kinzo, burned in the incinerator, with a weapon resembling an ice pick having been rammed into his forehead. The old mage's wish scattered, ungranted. This is but one possible result of the gamble he always knew was not in his favor. Damn. Sure. Cool. Okay. This was a very good part, and I definitely feel that we are closing in on the end of episode 1, not just because our cast is very much dead, but also it's the they've been talking about how tomorrow the police will come and yeah. Okay. I wonder tips. So here we have gone through the first twilight and the second twilight. On the third twilight, those who remain shall praise my noble name. So I feel like these three, like this third twilight will be the climax of episode 1. Shall praise my name, noble name. That will be interesting to see. So, okay, the first 3 here will be what we're gonna go through in episode 1. So the question is, in episode 2, will we pick up and start from the 4th twilight, or will we go back and do these again until we get further? Like, once episode 2 starts, will we just treat this as the first day, but it is the 4th twilight for us? So this will happen on the first night in episode 2. I'm just assuming that it all continues, or it all like resets back. Yeah. Or will we go through all these, but this time in the second episode we will be here for a longer time than just 3 days. And will we just go further and further with each door? Because if so there's this 8 episodes, right? And I assume that it's kind of similar to Higurashi with 4 and 4 for question arcs, for answer arcs. So how would these be divided? If it's so that on episode 2 we just start from here. So 3, it can't be 3 and 3, no, because then there would be just 1 left. So 3, 2, 2, 3 or something like that. I don't know. Gouge the chest and kill. Chest. Okay. Well, I don't know if I have any clear idea on how that will go. I guess we'll just see. Yeah. Well, according to the epitaph, there won't be any more deaths. On the 3rd twilight, those who remain shall praise my noble name. So, but then again, it wasn't specified in these 2 that Hinzo would die either. So, yeah, there could still be more deaths in episode 1. We'll have to see. I'm very much I very much like the idea of bodies not being fake bodies being found there and like people faking their death. Seems like a cool idea. Yeah. Okay. I think I think this is a good point. I think I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for a while. This will be Higurashi spoilers. So those who haven't played through Higurashi, just end the video. I'm not gonna say anything regarding this game after this point. So yeah. Cool. See ya. Bye. And for those who remained, I found it kind of funny. So this is Higurashi spoilers. I found it very funny how the game felt like it was calling out how Ryukishi did the mystery in Higurashi. Like they talked about the faking a death on a body and it not being able to recognize it. Yeah, that was very funny. A nice poke at your own previous mystery. And there was one other thing that I kind of found related to Higurashi, but I forgot what it was. There have also been some other cases. I don't remember any more what they specifically were, but definitely have been a few situations where I'm like, they've done that in Higurashi, and this is the game poking fun at that or mentioning that, or yeah. Okay, yeah, nothing more specific than that. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I already said the Patreon thing. Cool. See ya. Bye.